to get my back blown out in peace. You think I got time to talk about a divorce that's a year old?
Stop scrolling, because what happened between Aaron Pierre, Iman Shumpert, and Teyana Taylor is so raw, so heartbreaking, that it's impossible to look away. This isn't just a feud between two men. It's a storm tearing a woman apart in public, leaving her crushed, humiliated, and finally pushed to break her silence. The truth of how far this drama has gone is shocking. The tension had been boiling for months. Every time Teyana tried to move forward, it felt like the past kept pulling her back. On one side, there was Iman, the father of her children, the man she had built a family with, but also the man who brought her some of her deepest pain. On the other side, Aaron Pierre, the man she thought represented a new chapter, a chance to feel seen and cherished in a way she hadn't in years. But instead of peace, this triangle spiraled into war, one that left Teyana emotionally shattered. The feud didn't start with fists. It started with words. Ugly, cutting words, thrown like knives in private, then spilling into the public eye. Iman couldn't handle seeing Teyana with someone new, especially Aaron, who didn't hold back from making his feelings known. To Iman, it wasn't just about losing Teyana. It was about his pride, his identity, the image he'd built of himself as her protector and partner. Watching another man step into that role lit a fire in him he couldn't control. Aaron, on the other hand, wasn't backing down. To him, Iman was a ghost of the past, someone who had hurt Teyana too deeply to deserve her loyalty anymore. So when Iman started lashing out, Aaron clapped back, refusing to stay quiet. Their exchanges grew sharper, more heated, until it was no longer just about Teyana. It became a fight for dominance, a public showdown over who had the right to stand beside her. And all the while, Teyana was in the middle, torn apart. To the world, she looked strong, still performing, still smiling for cameras, still being the powerhouse she's known to be. But behind closed doors, her strength was cracking. Friends close to her say she cried every night, torn between the chaos of her past and the instability of her present. She didn't want her children caught in the crossfire, but the louder the feud grew, the harder it became to shield them. The breaking point came when Iman showed up unexpectedly at an event Teyana was attending with Aaron. Witnesses say the air shifted the second he walked in. The tension was thick, almost unbearable, as eyes darted back and forth between the two men. Iman's jaw was clenched, Aaron's posture stiff. And Teyana, her face told the whole story. Fear, exhaustion, heartbreak. She knew what was coming, and she was powerless to stop it. According to people who were there, Iman confronted Aaron directly, saying things so personal, so venomous, that even the crowd fell silent. Aaron didn't hold back either. The words exchanged were so explosive, it was only a matter of seconds before it escalated. Iman pushed. Aaron swung. And suddenly, the feud that had lived in whispers and side comments exploded in full view of the public. Teyana's scream cut through the chaos. She begged them to stop, pleaded with them to think of the children, to think of her. But in that moment, it was as if neither man could hear her. All they could see was each other, locked in a battle that had less to do with love and more to do with ego. Cameras caught flashes of the fight, and within hours, the clips went viral. The world was watching, dissecting every second, while Teyana was left to pick up the pieces of her own heart. The online reaction was immediate. Fans were outraged, calling the men selfish, reckless, and cruel for dragging Teyana into a public circus. Memes and headlines painted her as a damsel caught in a war, but those close to her say that narrative cut even deeper. Because Teyana isn't weak, she's one of the strongest women in the industry. But strength doesn't mean she can't break. And in this feud, that's exactly what happened. For weeks, she stayed silent. No interviews, no posts, no explanations. She retreated into herself, choosing to put her children first while the world speculated. But silence has its limits. And eventually, the weight of it all, the public embarrassment, the private tears, the endless tug-of-war, became too much. Teyana finally broke her silence in a way no one expected. Not with a fiery clapback or a bitter rant, but with raw, unfiltered honesty. In a post that left fans stunned, she admitted the feud had destroyed her emotionally. She confessed the pain of being torn between two men, the agony of watching her family's name dragged through the mud, and the exhaustion of always being expected to rise above. Her words were heavy with truth, and for the first time, the world saw just how deeply this war had scarred her. She wrote about sleepless nights, about the fear her children might grow up thinking chaos was normal, about the shame of having her private life turned into public entertainment. She admitted she had questioned herself, wondered if she was the problem, wondered if she deserved the pain. But she also wrote about rediscovering her own voice, about realizing she didn't belong to anyone, not Iman, not Aaron. She was her own, and it was time to reclaim that. Her silence breaking hit harder than any fight, any rumor, any headline. Fans rallied behind her, flooding her with support and demanding both men take accountability. The narrative shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't about who won between Aaron and Iman. It was about how badly both had failed her. And that's what makes this story so gut-wrenching. Because beyond the chaos, beyond the pride, beyond the fight, there is a woman who gave her love, her loyalty, her all, and was left with nothing but pain. The feud between Aaron and Iman might be about ego to them, but to Teyana, it's about survival. It's about protecting her peace, her children, and her future. Even now, long after the dust was supposed to have settled, the feud hasn't truly ended. The silence between them isn't peace, it's tension, thick and unspoken, like the calm before a storm that everyone knows is coming back around. Both men, though no longer at open war, still linger on the edges of her life, watching, waiting, each one convinced he holds the moral high ground, each still haunted by his version of the past. They circle around her like storms, unpredictable and dangerous, threatening to clash again at any moment. And when they do, it's her world that will be shattered all over again. But something has changed. Teyana is no longer the same girl caught in the middle, torn between two forces larger than herself. She's no longer the mediator, the peacekeeper, the one sacrificing her own voice just to keep everyone else from falling apart. She's found something in herself, something fierce, unshakable. A voice that was always there but buried under years of guilt, fear, and silence. Now, she's not asking. She's not pleading with them to stop. She's demanding it. Demanding space. Demanding respect. Demanding the right to rebuild her life on her own terms, without being treated like a prize to be won or a battleground to be conquered. She refuses to carry their unresolved history anymore. She is not a referee in their war. She is her own person, with her own wounds to heal, and for the first time, she's giving herself permission to do just that. Maybe that's where her true power lies, not in choosing sides, not in ending the feud, but in stepping out of its shadow completely. In finally claiming her story, not as a daughter, not as a lover, not as someone's possession, but simply as Teyana. And as the storms continue to rage on the horizon, she stands tall, no longer caught in the eye of it, but walking away from it. Toward peace. Toward freedom. Toward herself. Because if there's one thing the world knows about Teyana Taylor, it's this. You can try to break her. You can try to drag her through the mud, tear her down with rumors, assumptions, and half-truths, but you cannot silence her. You cannot dim a light that was born to shine, and you cannot quiet a voice that has learned to rise above the noise. She has endured more than the public will ever truly understand. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the constant pressure to stay composed while the world watched her life unravel in real time. And still, she stands. This feud, as messy and destructive as it has been, didn't just test her. It revealed her. It reminded her, and the world, that she's more than a title, more than someone's partner, more than the collateral damage of someone else's choices. She is not defined by the roles others try to place on her. She is her own woman, a mother, an artist, a visionary, a warrior. Through the chaos, she found clarity. Through the pain, she found power. And now, she's no longer asking to be seen. She is commanding it. She's no longer waiting for peace. She's creating it. Because Teyana Taylor isn't just surviving this storm. She is a storm, a force all on her own, unshaken, unbothered, and undeniably unstoppable.